What's the most accidental way you found out someone was hiding how much they cared about you? For me, it took 22 years and a cheap security camera. I grew up in the apartment right above a small Salvadoran restaurant my mom owned, and I'm not going to lie, for most of my life, I kinda hated that place. My mom was essentially a machine. She worked 14-hour shifts, 6 days a week. We never had sit-down family dinners. She never asked how my day was, and she never went to my school events. My entire childhood consisted of finding a foil-wrapped plate of pupusas on the bottom step of our stairs, with a sticky note that just said, "Eat, do homework." I always felt like the restaurant was her actual child, and I was just the roommate she was legally obligated to keep alive. I held onto a lot of quiet resentment about it. When I moved out for college, I was honestly relieved to put some distance between us. Last weekend, I came back to visit. We'd had some issues with missing inventory in the dry storage, so she asked me to log into the computer in the back office and check the security cameras we'd installed a few months ago. I was scrubbing through the overnight footage, looking for whenever the delivery guys dropped off the boxes. I found the missing stuff pretty quickly, just a driver putting a crate in the wrong corner. But while I was dragging the timeline bar, I noticed this weird, repetitive spike in the motion detector at around 1:30 a.m. every single night. The camera covers the back hallway, which points right at the prep kitchen and the staircase that leads up to our apartment. I clicked on a random Tuesday at 1:45 a.m. The restaurant was closed. The lights were off. I watched my mom walk into the frame, untying her apron. She looked so exhausted she could barely stand straight. But instead of going into the kitchen to finally eat her own dinner, she walked over to the base of the stairs. She slowly climbed up halfway, stopping right outside the door to my room, and she just stood there. She leaned her head against the wall in the dark, just listening. She stayed like that for almost 3 minutes, just making sure I was asleep and safe. Then she quietly walked back down and went to eat her cold food alone in the dark kitchen. My stomach completely dropped. I went back to Wednesday. Same thing. I went back to a month ago. Same thing. Then I checked a date from 2 weeks ago when I was back at college and my bedroom was completely empty. I watched her close up the shop, walk to the stairs, climb halfway up, and just rest her hand on the doorknob of my empty room for a minute before going back downstairs. Every single night for years. I always thought she was emotionally cold because she didn't care. Sitting in that dark office watching the monitor, I finally realized she was giving every single ounce of her physical energy just to keep a roof over that door. And those 3 minutes on the stairs were the only time in her entire day she allowed herself to just be a mom. I didn't say anything to her about the footage. I just walked out to the front where she was wiping down tables, took the rag out of her hand, and told her to go sit down while I finished closing up.